Okay, so guys, welcome once again. So this is going to be that kind of a session where you get to ask a lot of questions, okay? And शर्माने का नहीं बिल्कुल, ठीक है? The intent of this session is not to like confuse you or sell anything. The intent is actually to empower you guys. Honestly speaking, we have been through this kind of ordeal ourselves, and pretty much all the mentors along with me at PrepZone have gone through this cycle. You don't know much about what kind of questions are going to be asked. You're facing some totally different kind of a beast for the first time in your life, and there isn't much guidance around it available. And wherever it is, they are charging a bomb for it. So, yeah, I know, right? That same feeling we all had. Uh, I guess what worked in our favor were a few things which we will discuss in this session. But this initiative of ours is primarily so that we can kind of help you guys address those problems a lot faster and in a more efficient manner as compared to what we had to go through, right? Our intent is to actually help you guys out, and that's what we are going to try and do, right? So across this session, there are going to be a lot of things that I'll try and address. But before we get started, if you are liking the concept and if you are feeling that this is the kind of session where I'm going to get some sort of answers, please drop a like, and if possible drop a comment in the chat or in the comment box. Especially if you would be watching it on the replays, please drop a comment with a lot of your questions or any queries that you have. We'll try to address them even post this session. All right, so we'll just give one more minute, and then we'll go ahead and get started, so that in the meantime, when others are joining in, we'll keep looping in more and more questions, and we'll try and address as many as possible during the session, apart from the ones that we are anyway planning to discuss. But just in case something gets missed, don't get disheartened. We will get back. I mean, at least I or someone from my team would basically get back and respond to you on those queries, so don't worry about that part. Okay, so let's see, we have around few people already, and we are already asking questions. So you have any course of at PhD? Yes, we do, and I'll be sharing those details. In fact, we commented back there, good afternoon. Hey, good afternoon, buddy. So we will go ahead and get started in just half a minute. Apart from that, how is everything going? In the sense, I know this is 2022, and it's kind of already showing you those kind of signs, isn't it? Omicron is already creating more cases, and people are again sticking back in their homes. So yeah, things are looking a little bit bleak. But having said that, please remember that we have faced worse situations in the past 2 years, and let's just keep our fingers crossed. Let's just keep hopes alive that this too shall pass. Okay, you should know that there are people who are really good at solving these kinds of problems, and they are putting in their heart and souls in solving it. So just trust in them, and this too shall pass. Okay. All right, guys. So without further ado, let's get started. Let me officially introduce myself as well. I'm Coach Sumant Malhotra, and I'm a product manager by profession, but I'm a career coach by passion. I've been a career coach for more than, I think, 4 years now, and I've been helping students, specifically early career grads and students in colleges, to get into the B schools, and then post B school life also, specifically getting into product management. I help them on how to prepare for interviews, how to go ahead and learn things which are going to specifically help them in their careers, and how to get out of a rut which happens inevitably whenever you start working in a job, and after a couple of years you do feel that. So these are the things that I primarily focus on and try to help students with. And so far I have been able to help more than 1,000 students like this overall India. So yeah, I want to keep that flame alive, and that's what I'm going to try and do today. So today we are going to be focusing on cracking the PI code, the personal interview code, right? A lot of you would actually be going ahead and giving the PIs for CAT. You would have got a decent percentile, and this is your shot to actually convert that, right? While you would have already been preparing for the various kind of questions over the internet which have been asked in the previous years. There's no structure to where you get that information currently, isn't it? You would find one question here, one question in a different place, and the answers would be haywire also. Someone would approach it in a different way, someone else would have a different approach to that same answer. Who to believe, who should you not, etc., right? So the credibility factor is a big question whenever we are attempting something like this, and this is the advantage that we want to bring to the table. Our team at PrepZone are all IIM grads, and that too from the top IIMs. So we have done this in the past. We all have a very similar thought process, and we have kind of curated the best structures and the best practices which are going to help you in cracking this PI code. Okay, so let's get started. All right. As usual, any questions, please drop them into the chat section. We'll be answering them then and there. Okay, cool. So the first and foremost, how do you make a good first impression, right? I mean, that's the most obvious thing you would do in any interview or any kind of interaction, right? So to build a good first impression, especially when you are living in a remotely connected world where you have to basically give interviews in an online setting, where you would be sitting something like this, right? You would have a camera facing you, and you don't have a eye contact with the person directly. Sometimes if you're using an external camera especially, you have to look into the camera instead of on the screen. So it kind of breaks that whole routine that we all have been used to while giving interviews in the past, right? Where we can look at the person straight up. So that's one big question mark these days, and candidates have that question, okay sir, how do we prepare for this kind of a situation, right? So the way to approach it is, the rules remain the same, but with a little bit of a hack in between. Okay, for example, the rule of punctuality still remains the same. Even if you were giving an interview in the past where you had to go into physical location and give it, you still would be punctual, right? You would still approach that interview with a fair bit of caution, and you will reach the place or reach the exact location and the room about 5 or 10 minutes earlier. You would be preparing, you would be keeping your nerves calm, etc. All of that still happens. The only thing is, this time instead of going physically somewhere, you just open that interview Zoom link or Google Meet link or whichever link that you would be using. Okay, and you would join in a little bit early so that you don't make the interviewer wait. That's the worst thing you can do. Okay, if you make the interviewer wait, you're kind of telling them that your time is not as important as mine, which you don't really want to be doing as soon as you begin the interview, at least. Okay, then the second piece you need to focus on is your personality. Okay, now by this I don't mean your innate nature. Okay, what I'm really targeting here is, you need to prepare yourself. Your persona should be interview ready. You shouldn't be like having stubble, and your frizzy hair shouldn't be lurking from one side. All those attributes of a person which don't really show your best side. Please keep them at the outside of that room in which you are giving the interview. A rule which I personally follow is, imagine that you are meeting the PM of your country. Okay, yeah, that's the rule you want to follow. That's how you want to get ready, that if the PM comes around the corner and says, hey, I'm here, you should be ready to meet him, right? So that's the rule you should follow, and it always works. It always works. Okay, all right. Second thing is, please avoid the last minute preparations. Like some of the candidates, what happens is, many times they would be so under prepared that they would try to get everything done in the last 5 minutes. They will probably have a longer sleep session or longer food session or something, and they would do everything in the last minute. And sometimes what happens is, these last minute efforts, they can lead to disasters. Like, I remember, very good friend of mine had a, major shaving cut at the last minute, and then he had to immediately go for an interview. So you can't even put a bandage there. So he had a pretty decent cut on his right cheek, and he went like that for the interview. And he was actually asked about that in the interview, and he had to say that, yeah, I shaved at the last minute. Of course, you guys know what would have happened after that, right? So avoid that. The third thing you need to remember is, to make a good first impression, a greeting has to be passed. Okay, you need to say a genuine hi or a hello. As soon as you start talking, that should be your first words coming out of your mouth. Okay, and just a genuine hi or hello is fine. You don't have to like spin stories on top of it. How are you? How has your day been? How are you doing? Is everyone safe? Hope you are doing fine. You don't have to go into that much. Just hi sir, hello sir, whoever you are interacting with, that's more than enough. From there, they will pick up the cue and they will start talking anyway. So that's all you need. The worst situation that you can do is not give any greeting at all. You're just sitting there like a mannequin. That's something you should avoid. Okay. Fourth thing, very important, is to introduce yourself. Okay. We will talk about this in more detail, but more generic advice here is that the confidence of yours is going to be key here. Okay. If you are sounding underconfident from the get-go, it's not going to bring any brownie points for you. Okay. So make sure that you sound very, very confident. All right. And please don't sound robotic. Okay. Don't cram up something and just repeat it. Try to avoid that situation. Right. Okay. So till this point, I'm hoping there are no questions, but in case you have, please drop it into the comments. And especially if you are watching it on replay, please make sure that you put comments there. We will get back to you. Okay. Now, some of the best practices for remote and online interviews are something like this. And this is something that a lot of candidates don't know by default because they haven't done any sort of creative work, but these best practices will help you have a more seamless experience in the interviews. Okay. So first thing is you need to have good lighting. Okay. If you don't have good lighting, especially, your light should fall on your face so that your face is visible, then well, you're going to look like some shady person and you don't want to do that. Okay. So avoid that and try to sit opposite a light source. The best kind of light is the sunlight. So if you're having an interview in the afternoon or in the mornings, the best would be to sit opposite a window or a door, right, from where sunlight is coming in. Otherwise, try to find artificial sources like a good tube light or maybe a bulb. Some students actually have their night lights, study lamps actually moved in a curved way so that the light directly faces the face, and they put it in front of them to kind of simulate that same view light experience. So maybe you can try that. Second would be to reduce noise. Please close the doors of your room when you are giving an interview. You do not want the dogs barking outside or the neighbors fighting, neighbors children screaming, etc. to come into your interview. It's just going to destroy the overall experience. Okay. You want a static background. You don't want the people in your house to be roaming around behind you. That's just going to be distracting for the interview. What you ideally want is a static background where nobody is moving. In fact, you don't have any lights flickering or anything either. Okay. It should be a good static background, which is kind of giving contrast to you so that you are in focus all the time. Okay. Then you need to have a well-groomed persona. Very, very, very important. If you are looking shabby, then it's not really going to look good for you. Okay. Whatever, part of you is in the frame. Like for example, in this case right now, I'm showing just the face of mine into the frame. So I made sure that that part, at least whatever you can see, is kind of presentable. Whatever face I have been given, I can't do much about that, but overall my personality can be presentable. That's something we need to focus on. All right. Then moving on next, you need to keep a glass of water with you. Like I always keep. This is a best practice because you will be speaking for at least half an hour or more, right? Considering how good or bad your interview goes, still you would at least be there for half an hour. So you don't want to be a situation there, where you constantly speak and then your throat just starts drying up and then it becomes difficult for you to continue. Okay. So keep a glass of water ready so that you can keep hydrating yourself. It also helps the nerves, by the way. And then maintaining eye contact. So if you have an external camera, it will take a little bit of practice to maintain an eye contact like this. But if you're directly watching it on your laptop or on your computer and you have an external camera looking up, then probably it wouldn't be such a bad thing to keep looking at the screen where you can see the interviewer's face. In those kinds of interviews where you are not showing your camera, it doesn't matter. So it's a go, right? Cool. Then the most commonly asked question, sir, how do we answer the tell me about yourself question? Because that's what always gives troubles to some of the candidates. So Prashant asks, eye contact throughout that time is not possible. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to like constantly keep looking at the screen and kind of gazing into their soul or anything. You don't have to do that, but it should look natural. It shouldn't feel let me give you an example. Like instead of watching the camera, if I start doing this all the time, if I just keep looking at my screen and just talking to the mic here, it's not really going to sound genuine, is it? Right? So the eye contact has a purpose. It should seem that you are really interested in having that conversation. It's a way to engage the interviewer. Okay, so that's something which I'm trying to tell you. Okay, cool. Then you can see, yeah, exactly, Prashant. Then tell me about yourself question is something that most people approach it in this way. Sir, my name is this and I'm from this. I was born and brought up here. I work in this company or I study in this college currently, etc., etc., etc. I'm not saying it's a bad answer. Okay. But there are better answers available. And trust me, as recruiters, we see this answer or we hear this answer pretty much all the time. So the only way for you to kind of distinguish yourself from 99 other candidates would be to not use the same framework, right? And there is a very easy way around it, which I'm going to tell you. Instead of answering this question this way, you try to have a theme, okay, around which your life's story is built, okay? Think of it this way. When you have to answer, let's say somebody asks you this question that, okay, uh, you know, tell me about yourself. So just have a conversation with them. Start answering something like, I'm Sumant, and my life has been a typical up and down seesaw of opportunities and realizations. Now, how I like to put that forward would be, look at my family background. I come from a family of doctors, and yet I chose to be the black sheep of the family and go ahead and do engineering, a field about which none of my family members knew squat about, right? And yet I chose to go ahead and do that. Why? Because I was interested in that. I was naturally inclined towards computers and technology, and I was not afraid to take that step. So that's something. You see how I did this? Okay. I created a theme that I want to talk about myself as a very passionate person who's willing to take risks. All of this is visible from this just two lines which I mentioned about myself. Now the next part of my careers and next part of my college life, I'll again spin a story around the same thing from my experiences. I'll have it around the same thing. Imagine if you are the recruiter, you would be interested in hearing about a guy like this, right? Because he or she is a bit different from what you see overall, isn't it? That is what will be the distinguishing factor for you. So try to build an answer like that. That will help. Okay, cool. Then moving forward, when you are giving this kind of answer, make sure that the story should actually include all these details. I mean, having a story doesn't absolve you from giving information about yourself. Okay, so make sure you include your career details, your college achievements, extracurriculars, and passions or hobbies. Okay, you need to spin all of these around the same theme, but all of these should be there in your answer. Cool. Then make sure you drive the interview. Okay, many candidates make this mistake. They just give this answer and they are happy with themselves, and now the interviewer is going to ask me a question. Don't do that. Okay, it's like a game of chess. You make a move and then the recruiter will so the interviewer will make a move, right? So instead, why don't you take the initiative, and the final line that you say as the answer to this question, make sure that you initiate a topic you are comfortable answering. Okay, so something like, that is why I'm looking forward to do an MBA, which I think would be very beneficial. Now, when you stop at this point, what do you think is the next logical question the recruiter or interviewer is going to ask you? Oh, can you tell me more about why really you want to do an MBA? Why don't you continue with your current job, right? Or why don't you go for any other degree? That is going to be the most obvious question, unless they have something already in mind, isn't it? So why don't you take that chance? Why don't you initiate that topic if you're already prepared for it? That's a trick a lot of candidates might not use, but you will, and you will be able to spend the next 15-20 minutes on similar topics which you're comfortable with, already creating credibility with the interviewer. That's what you want to do. Okay, use this as an opportunity, don't leave it. All right, then something a lot of candidates ask me is, okay sir, how long should my answer to this question be? Should it be just 1 minute? Should it be more than 1.5 minutes? 2 minutes? How much? Right? So this is the golden rule. If it is around 1 minute, that's okay, that's not bad. But sometimes people lose a lot of details, they don't mention enough. 1.5 minutes is what I've found to be golden. Okay, approximately this much time, great. Then 2 minutes, if you are taking it to 2 minute benchmark, then it's kind of a stretch and the recruiter or the interviewer might get bored. Okay, but till this point also it's fine. If it's even more than 2 minutes, then it is bad. Then you are kind of I can assure you are boring the interviewer and it's not really sufficient for you. I mean, you're kind of telling the recruiter that you have too many things to talk about yourself. Some of them might not even be pertinent. So that's why don't do that. Stick to the 1.5 to 2 minute rule. You will be fine. All right. Then sometimes what happens is the interviewer keeps completely silent. They don't mention a single word, and sometimes what that leads to is the candidates start feeling this. So let's say if I'm the interviewer and you are done with your answer, I'll just do this. That's it. That's all I'll do. Now think about the poor interviewee, right? He or she would be thinking exactly this. Oh my god, maybe I didn't mention enough things. Maybe I should continue talking about something. Oh, what should I find about in my life which I can talk about for 1 more minute? Yeah, that's exactly what the recruiter is trying to push you towards also. Okay, don't do that. All right, do not do that. Try to honestly play it, in your favor. Try to be bold and just say this. So would you like to, like me to talk about something in more detail, or would you like me to talk about anything in particular about the things that I've already mentioned? Okay, be bold. Show them that you are not afraid. You are not afraid of the awkward silences. You are okay to wait if they want you to wait. Your answer is done. Okay, have that confidence. Okay. Alrighty, let's move forward. Uh, Typical personals questions which will be asked, right? Similar to what you have already heard, like why MBA. Now, what's the best kind of answer that you can give for why MBA, right? See, there are multiple reasons why one would want to do an MBA, and all of them have some good or bad associated to them. Having said that, just make sure that anything that you are answering is something that you believe in. Okay, it's very easy for experienced recruiters to find out when somebody's making stories. Okay, so if you don't believe in it, please don't answer it because someone else gave that answer. First, you should believe. Okay, why? Because then you will be able to defend it when we start asking counter questions. Okay, let's take a case study. I asked a candidate once why MBA. He or she told me that sir, I want to do an MBA because I want to get a second degree. I was like, why don't you get another second degree? Why MBA only? They're like, why MBA second degree? Because this works very well with my career. They're like, okay, your career has been in IT. How does an MBA add to that, right? You can do a MTech also. You can go for MSc also. There are so many other careers, second degree, which you can take. Why MBA? Again, he got stuck because he didn't believe in his answer. He didn't really think about it. He just saw someone else answering that question and he, came here and gave that answer. Don't do that. Do your own research, do your own soul searching, be ready with the answer, and then only give that. Your reason can be as simple as I want to earn more money. That's okay. Please do not think that's a bad answer. However, at the same time, remember that when you give such an answer, it becomes difficult to defend it. Okay, when you just say that money is the only objective for you to do an MBA, the next question, what do you think will be asked? Why only MBA? There are so many other avenues of earning money, right? So why MBA? Right? So prepare an answer accordingly. As I said, it's a game of chess. You need to see, further 3-4 moves ahead and remember what kind of questions can be asked, prepare for them accordingly, and then go with that confidence. Okay. It's a very commonly asked question. Prepare for it accordingly. Cool. Then career journey or college journey if you are a fresher. Okay, so a typical candidate would be asked something like this. Okay, so can you tell me something about your career so far? If you have been working for 3 or 4 years, then how has your journey been? What did you like, what did you not like, etc. Right? So how do you answer these kinds of questions? You would typically start talking about something that you are passionate about. Don't go with, okay sir, I started in 2007 and my college had these many students and I studied this was my we can see that on your CV anyway, right? And we are not interested how many students were there in your college. Okay, we are more interested about why you chose that particular college or that particular field of study, right? What are your passions, what are your motivations? That is the reason this is being asked. See, this is a personal question. Okay, the intent is to know more about you from a personal perspective. Okay, so please give me that. Right, do not tell me some unnecessary details about what your college is, how great its ranking is and all that. No one cares. Okay, so do that. Similar thing happens about your career journey also. Don't talk about the company, how great it is, how big it is. Think from a perspective of the recruiter. What would they be really interested in knowing? Okay, why you joined that company? Why not something else? Why did you not leave it? Are you passionate about what you do? Right, your job, does it motivate you to get up every day and do it again, or does it bore you to death? Right, so that's something we want to know. And when somebody is passionate about what they have been doing, when the person is really energetic, it shows in their voice and in their persona. That's what I want you guys to build. Okay, alrighty. Then questions around success and failure meaning. So I'll ask it like this way. Okay, so what exactly does success mean to you? What exactly does failure mean to you? Right? Some candidates typically answer this by saying, sir, success for me is financial success, or success for me is having a good work-life balance. Or some very emotional candidates give the answer, success for me is, having my parents proud of what I have become. So all of these are good answers. I'm not saying any of these is a bad answer or anything, but remember that these questions will be something which will have follow-on questions. Okay, so those follow-up questions would be like, okay, so let's say that your parents become really proud of you after reaching a certain stage in your career. Okay, and however, while they are proud, you hate your job, you hate your job, you hate your team, whatever, right? So will that still be a success for you? You see, this is how we will grill you. We will give you some situations and we'll see how you kind of defend yourself after that point. And we will try to grill you further and further till the point, you either reach a state where you're not able to defend yourself, or you reach a stage where, we can't really grill you any, further. Okay, where it reaches the realm of being ridiculous. You see my point? Okay, so prepare for your answers accordingly on these questions. Another very typical question you would have heard about is, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses? Now, this is a very interesting case. A lot of candidates, what they do is they try to disguise their weaknesses. Okay, and rather disguise their strengths as weaknesses, right? You would have heard this somewhere, right? A candidate will say, sir, I am very, very focused, or I am very, very hardworking. Sometimes I am too involved in a project. Who are you trying to fool? Right? I mean, let's face it. If you are so hardworking, why would you call it as your weakness? Right? See, you need to give due respect to the interviewer. Okay, they have been taking interviews for a while, they would have heard all this. Okay, this strategy doesn't work anymore. I would advise, in fact, I would implore you guys to not, please do not use this strategy anymore. Okay, instead go for proper answers. It can be something as simple as sometimes losing that balance between your work and life. Yeah, that is a acceptable answer. Yes, there are some days in which no matter how hard you try, you lose track of time, you don't feel like working, and because of that your work life balance gets disturbed, right? That's absolutely acceptable. And don't just state your weakness and stop there. Tell that you have been working to actually figure out a way to get around this problem as well, and you have been able to get some sort of a success to that also. Don't just stop ki I tried it and that's all. Tell them that yeah, I have been able to get some sort of a success. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm working on it. Okay, that's what we like to hear as recruiters also, and that's what, if you think about it, should be the logical answer to this as well. Right? So, glass of water, as I said. Right? Okay. Yeah, the typical answer. Arvind says, I am a perfectionist. Please, please, no perfectionist. Oh my God. I can't recall how many times I have heard this answer. And my next question has been, if you are such a perfectionist, what are you doing giving an interview here? Okay. If you're such a perfectionist, why not go ahead and build something on your own perfect world? Right? So please don't give that kind of answer. It's only going to be like, digging a trap for yourself. Okay. All right. So yeah, please work on these answers. Then another typical questions would be, what are your short-term goals or long-term goals? The same question can be asked in a different way. Some people would ask it like this: okay, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 1 year, etc., etc., right? Same question, different way of asking. So how I've seen typical candidates approaching this question is, they will start thinking about, okay, I want to become a senior manager into this company, or I want to have my own team, or I want to build my own company by this time, etc., etc. All decent answer. Again, think about follow-up questions. Okay, if you're telling me that in 5 years I want to, I see myself leading a team of 5 people in this same company, I'll obviously ask you the same question: why are you imagining your future only in this company? Do you love it so much? You haven't even worked a single day here. How can it be logical? Right? How are you so sure that after 5 years you are going to stick around? Right? I mean, it just tells me that you're not taking the question seriously. What we typically like to hear as recruiters is a person who sounds genuine, who is not afraid of giving an answer even though it might sound a little bit bad. Like, if somebody tells me on my face that I'll probably be working in a big multinational, they may even say the name of that company, right? And they would be telling me that that place would be the place I would be, right? It might sound bad right now, but it does sound genuine, right? I mean, that's what you should aspire to be. Okay, try staying away from some cliched answer. Okay, then it would be bad. Cliched answers, always something you should try and avoid. Okay. Let me rush this a bit because we have been spending quite a bit of time here. Again, more questions, please put it on chat. Me and my team would be answering these questions. Okay. Meetu asks, sir, what should freshers focus on? Freshers should make sure that they know their resume in and out. Okay. That's the most important thing for you guys, because you will be asked questions. If you have been a captain of a cricket team, people will ask you that. I mean, I would have asked you that, okay, how was your experience there? How did you become the captain? Why not someone else? Then what were you able to achieve that someone else was not able to achieve as a captain, etc. Right? Any projects that you have done, any experiences of yours in volunteering, everything we would go ahead and ask you. So make sure you are ready about those things, because they will be asked even before you reach the personals. Okay. Then then okay, no other questions till now. My team has been answering that. Thank you, team. Then short-term, long-term goals. You guys now understood how it's going to be. Favorite hobby and idols is another common question. We would ask you, okay, what are your hobbies? Okay, or what is the name of your idol? Who do you follow, etc. Right? So go ahead and create an answer on this. You may or may not have a hobby, you may or may not have an idol, but have an answer ready for this. And these are relatively easier answers as compared to some of the other ones that we have gone through. Okay, so it's better that you have some answer here. Okay, your idol can even be someone like Amir Khan, Shah Rukh Khan, even Nitin Gadkari sir. Okay, it doesn't matter whose name you say, you just need to justify it ki, this is one quality I see in them and that is what inspires me, right? If someone would have asked me that question, I would have said Will Smith, right? I know that he is very good at whatever he does, and from a young age he tried his hand at several things. He excelled in whatever he touched, and today he's a big star because of that. And he has gone through a lot of ups and downs in his personal life, but he doesn't let it affect his own personal agendas, etc., etc., right? So I have an answer ready for this, so I'm able to talk about it confidently, and I believe in it too, so it sounds genuine. That's something I want you guys to try. Okay. Then dream job. So what is your dream job? Some candidates get stuck here. Arey sir, what if my dream job is actually in Google and I'm appearing for their competitor? If I if I give their name, then they will say, okay, just go interview there. Why are you here? Right? On the contrary, I ask a counter question to such candidates. Ki, okay, why are you assuming that we will only ask ki, why are you not giving their interview? What if you give our company's name? Okay, let's say that you are appearing for Apple. Okay, and you give that answer that, sir, Apple is my dream company, when you are giving that interview. Now, what do you think the next question from our side is going to be? Of course, we'll ask you why. What do you know about us? And we'll ask you like really very sticky details about the company. What do you think our stock prices currently? Do you know the recent merger or acquisition that we did, etc., etc.? Which technology do you love so much that this is your dream company? What do you know about us? What do you know about our culture, etc.? Right? So don't dig a trap for yourself. Okay, again, give an answer that you believe in. If you don't have a dream company, say it. It's okay, it's absolutely fine. Okay, you don't have a dream company, just say it. I don't have a dream company, I just want to work with a good organization. That's it. Simple, right? Yeah, don't use hacks, have an answer. All right, so let's move on to the next, which is the situational and behavioral insight questions. Okay, these are trickier as compared to everything that we have gone through. These are the trickier ones. Here you would be asking, you will be asked questions like, okay, how do you handle failures? Okay, tell me one situation in which you failed in life. Okay, and tell me how did you handle it. So in these situations, try to talk about some subject failure that you had, or maybe a project you couldn't deliver on time in job or in college, or maybe in your personal life also. If you are okay in sharing, maybe you can talk about a personal failure also. Maybe you had a commitment to someone and you were not able to deliver on it, and you can talk about it candidly. Okay, at every point of time, as I've been constantly telling you, it should sound genuine. Okay, if it is not sounding real, if it is sounding made up, or the worst thing you can do is like take story from a picture or a TV serial and talk about it. Like, don't, please please don't do that. Okay, it is very obvious when you do that, and the recruiters can see it from a mile away. So please don't do that. Find something. I mean, how can you have a life till this point of time when you're giving interview for CAT that you don't have any kind of a failure? It's, at least to me, it sounds impossible. You would have, small or big, that depends on you, but you would have some sort of failure, because that's how people learn. So talk about it, be candid, don't be afraid. Okay, and be bold, accept it, own the failure, and say, I'm not afraid of failing, I'm just afraid of not being able to grow after the failure. Okay, That's the way you answer. Have that confidence in your voice when you say this. All right, cool. Then we have a few questions, but yeah. So what if I don't have a specific specialization in mind right now? I want to explore what MBA has to offer. Is it necessary to state my long-term goal in this case? No. If you don't have a specialization in mind, just say it. It's okay. See, it has to sound genuine. Okay. It shouldn't be something which is second-hand information and then you are not able to defend it. Okay. If you don't have a specialization in mind, say it. It's okay. Just say, I'll be exploring it. Okay. I don't know what MBA would offer me. I have limited knowledge. I've tried to ask people, but I don't think I have enough information. I will get through it and I'll take the first year to analyze what I'm really good at. Based on that, I'll decide where my career goes. Absolutely acceptable. Okay. All right. In an idol question, if I say I don't have an idol, but I like a specific quality of a person, would it work? Absolutely. No problem. Okay. Just say what impresses you about a person. But yeah, you should try to have someone as an idol. Okay. Okay. Then next, conflict resolution. A typical question would be asked something like this on conflict resolution, that okay, have you ever been in a situation where you have handled a conflict, or have you ever been in a conflict with someone? Have you ever been in a conflict with a peer, a friend, a brother, or even your boss? And if you say yes, which you should, okay, because how can you have a situation when you have never been in a conflict with a person you work with, right? That's like obvious, isn't it? So you should say yes, and then you should have a story ready with you. Okay. Talk about it candidly again. It should sound genuine, and you should come out as the person who thought logically at that point of time, who was not taken up by rage or anger or, illogical thinking. Rather, you should come out as a person who thought logically about why the conflict is happening. Maybe it's just a conflict of interests. Maybe it's just a conflict of responsibilities. Maybe it's just a misunderstanding. So you should come out as a person who thought about it logically, found the real reason why there is a conflict, and then addressed that and mitigated the conflict if possible. Okay. That's the person you want to be coming out as when you answer this question. If you are not coming out as that person, then you need to revisit your answer. Make sense? All right. Then next thing, who is a leader versus a manager? Very, very commonly asked question. Okay. This is basically to see, how you think on your feet. Many candidates don't expect this kind of question and they get stuck. Arey sir, who's a leader? So some people say, sir, MS Dhoni is a leader. The obvious next question is going to be what? Why? Why is he a leader? Why is he not a manager? Right? Doesn't he manage a team? Right? Doesn't he need to take decisions about who to keep out from this test match, etc.? That is what a manager also does, right? So you need to have a distinction between these two. Okay. Now, there is no right or wrong answer to this, because a lot of it is going to be, very similar to the roles of a leader and manager. Okay. The thought process you need to have while answering this is, you need to understand your own philosophy around this. Okay. You should have an opinion about it. You shouldn't have second-hand information, please. Okay. So that's why I'm not going to give an answer. Otherwise, what will happen is a lot of you will take that answer and then go into the interview, even though you don't believe in it. Okay. But try to build an opinion about, what would you want to have in a leader. Let's say if you had to follow someone in battle, okay, what kind of qualities would that person have to influence you so much that you are willing to lay down your life on the line for him, right? That's the kind of quality that a leader would have. A manager might be able to get work out of you, might be able to help you out with some professional stuff, but he or she may not be able to influence you so much on a personal level. Okay. That is what leaders typically do. Leaders, they influence people. Okay. Leaders, make them believe in them. Okay. Leaders make their subordinates feel as if, they are also living for them and they would help them out in any trouble. Okay. That is something maybe you can build your answer around. Okay. It's a very common question. So please prepare for it. Okay. All right. Then, yeah, like Shubham says, like in a football match, a manager and the captain. No. A captain can also be a manager. It's about the perspective. Okay. We are not talking about the exact designations here. Okay. Very interesting take, Shubham. All right. Then handling non-performers. We all know what I'm talking about here, right? The free riders, people who are in your team, people in your project team who don't work, who don't like to work, who just take a chill pill, and typically they would come at the very end when the presentation is actually happening, and then they just stand around in the corner, but they don't really add any value, but they still get the same good marks because they were in your team. Sounds familiar? Yeah, I know, right? That happens regardless of at which point of life you are, regardless of whether you have been working for years or whether you have just started working, or whether you are in college or even in school, you will find such people. So a question would be, how do you handle it, right? Do you confront them, or do you avoid conflict with them? Do you let them be कि चल ठीक है, it's okay, I'll work on their behalf, who cares, I am supposed to get marks, right? I am working for myself. That is a part of your personality which we are trying to adjust. That, do you just back off कि हाँ ठीक है, it's okay, or do you actually try to solve the problem? And when you try to solve the problem, are you too aggressive in your approach, or are you like not persevering enough to actually solve the problem, etc.? Okay, that's what we try to adjust. Try to build an answer according to your personality. As I said, there are no right and wrong answers. There are only answers which come from your heart. Okay, having said that, some candidates misconstrue my words, and they believe that when it has to come from the heart, they can be very casual in an interview, and they can talk as if we are just chaddi buddies with the interviewer. Please don't do that. It should sound genuine, but you still need to maintain decorum of the interview. Okay, don't start talking casually like we are having this talk here. This is a live session. What you would be having is not a live session, it would be a professional interview. So please maintain that decorum, talk politely, and talk with respect. Okay. All right. Okay, next kind of question: why do you deserve admission, or why should I reject you? See, not even accept, why should I reject you? Basically, the candidate is now pushed into a corner. This kind of question is usually asked to those candidates which are sounding uber confident. When they are sounding confident to the level of sounding very arrogant, at that point the recruiter usually pulls out these tough tricky questions. Okay, and the idea is to push them into a corner and see how they react. Do they lose their bearings, or do they panic? When candidate panics, it's very obvious, by the way, right? If you have panicked ever in an interview, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so it's very obvious, and that's what we would be trying to do by asking this question: why should we reject you? But if you keep your bearings at that time, if you keep your confidence alive, you would answer this in a very calm way. Okay, you will not like flutter. You would in fact stay very calm and say, okay, so why should you reject me? Well, if you don't want a candidate of this type, if you don't want a student who can learn like this and this and this, talk about your good aspects. Okay, and try to frame an answer around those good aspects, that if you don't want this kind of a candidate, then perhaps you should reject me. You see how I did? Okay, that's a kind of answer you should frame. I'm only giving you guidelines, I'm not going to give you the answer in case you're expecting that. Okay, try to build an answer from your own heart. That would be something that you would be able to answer on the spot. Otherwise, these second-hand answers, they don't work. Okay, then very interesting question: money, power, fame, knowledge, family. You need to prioritize. Tell me, and tell me the ranking that you would give to each of these, and why. Interesting question, isn't it? How do you rank this? And then how do you justify it also? Like, let's say some people say family at the top. Very common answer, right? Everybody will say this to sound like a genuine family guy. They will say family number one. Everything else comes later, right? But do you really believe it? Or are you just saying so that it impresses the recruiter? That's what we will check also. So make sure that whatever you're saying, you have genuine reasons for it. Okay, if you yourself don't believe in it, don't say it. It's okay to say that I want power first, everything else comes later. Okay, it might sound to you as if it's going to be a very negative point about your personality, and maybe the recruiters will feel, oh my god, this guy is so power hungry. But that's okay, that's absolutely fine. Okay, let them feel that. Justify your answer, that if I have power, I will have the confidence to be able to sustain my family and keep them safe. So family, it is a priority. I'm not saying it is not, but if I'm able to get power, first, then I will be able to serve my family better. What is the point of just prioritizing family when I'm not able to serve them properly, right? As I said, no right or wrong answers. You see my point? Okay, any questions till this point, guys? Please put it in the comments. I know a lot of you have been asking questions and my team has been answering them. But in case you are watching it on replay, please go ahead and put it on comments. We will get back to you. All right, cool. So let's get back to the slides now. So all these questions are, just a typical, I should say, taste for you of what kind of questions you can expect and the common pitfalls that students have while answering these. I have tried my level best for giving you guidelines on how to frame these answers, how to speak it out so that it sounds genuine. Hopefully, I've been able to answer most of your queries. But in case you have more, this is the time. Okay, go ahead and ask questions. Keep putting them on chat. I'll give a couple of more minutes so that you guys can go ahead and put it on chat, and I'll address some of them. Okay. Vishal says a very interesting, perspective to the previous question. Same weightage to all, right? Money, fame, power, family, everything. You know how it's going to sound like in an actual interview? It would sound as if you don't really have a clue. Like, how can you prioritize everything the same? Are you honestly saying that for you, money and power are the same, or money and family are the same? Are you not able to prioritize it at all? That means you are absolutely confused in life. At any point of time, if you have to take a decision, you won't be able to prioritize anything, right? You won't be able to take a decision. How can you be a manager then? Okay. The idea is to have an opinion, Vishal. Okay. And I'm trying to, not kind of criticize you here. I'm just telling you what is a better way to approach this question. Okay. Then, sir, what if they ask, how would you rate your interview out of 10 and why? Be candid about it. Okay. If you felt that, your interview went well, okay, and you did well, have reasons for it and speak it out candidly. It's okay. Okay. They asked you for an opinion, you are giving it out, straight up. Okay. Don't try to hide things. Don't try to, butter it up. Don't try to, candy coat it. It's okay. If you felt at any point of time that some question that was asked by the interviewer was too personal and it kind of invaded or transgressed your privacy, be bold about it and say it also. No problem. Okay. If it's a genuine problem, they will address it. Make sense? Then at this point, they can conflict, like if power comes in the way of family, then yeah, of course they will. Let me assure you, when you give this priority order, whatever you give, they will ask questions like that. Having said that, you are not supposed to be now covering up in the corner. Okay. You need to be bold about your opinions and say it out. Ki, I am expecting that totally. There will be times when I would have to choose between gaining power versus taking control of my family. Give an example from your life then. Okay. Like if I was asked this question, okay, I would have given an example that sir, we leave our homes at an early age so that we can study in different colleges, right? At that point of time, our families go through a lot of ups and downs, and we are usually missing from action at that point of time. So if you look at it that way, it would seem as if I chose my own knowledge and my own power and money, etc., on top of my family. But is that really true? No, right? I'm preparing myself for the future, and that is why I'm prioritizing this. You see what I'm doing here? Okay. I'm giving a logical reason for this, and if it is sounding logical, if it is sounding reasonable, then it's absolutely fine. Okay. Then wow, a lot of questions, man. My team is also finding it difficult to answer all of them. What if I don't have it all clear in the long term goal? Can you give some leads as to how to reach that eureka point? There is no eureka point, Pawan. Just answer it in a way that it sounds reasonable. If you don't have a long term vision, that's fine. But see, every person has some sort of a thought process what they want to become, right? If you want to have a reasonably chill life, be open about it. It's okay. Okay. If you have really high ambitions and you want to have your own startup and in 5 years you want to create the next unicorn of India, again, be open about it. Okay. If you have no ambition or if you have no clarity about your future, maybe you need to do a bit of soul searching. Okay. All right. How to justify low 12th score but have improved in grad and all? It is very easy to justify. If you have improved in graduation, undergrad, college and all, it's a very obvious answer, right? Maybe you were going through some sort of a family trouble. Maybe you were not able to focus because of some health issues. It could be anything. Or maybe you were just not serious about life at that point of time. Maybe you didn't get the right kind of guidance. That's okay. But at the point where you started improving, you can show that part. You can say that, see, I started getting some sort of a structure in my head about how to take the next, big step in life when I came to college. And that's how I approached my life, right? What is wrong in that? Nothing. You are showing improvement, right? That's always good. Okay. Uh, then there is a question uh, saying I want to earn more money and that's why MBA is not considered a red flag. Gagan, I have already addressed this question, but just for the sake of everyone, let me repeat that. There is no red flag. Okay. The only red flag is when the candidate is not sounding genuine. Okay. If you have reasons for any answer and if you are candid about it and you really believe in it and it's obvious also in the way you say it, it's a right answer. As I said, no right or wrong answer, only real answers. Okay. Then, okay, so seems like my camera has given up. Okay. But anyways, till this point, some other questions that I've been asked is, are male candidates expected to be clean shaved or groomed beard is good too? So it depends on, how big are you planning to keep your beard? Like, if you are planning to keep your beard very long, and then also grooming it is something that you want to go for. I mean, you can go for it. I would typically, however, not advise you to. Okay. Mustaches, especially, the short ones and, properly groomed ones are absolutely fine. Typical Indian male mustache that we have, it's absolutely okay, right? But having, the KGF beard is something I would, ask you guys to avoid. You don't want to portray that side of you yet. Okay. You'll have a lot of time in your life to, do all that fashion. But especially when you're going for cat, PI rounds, I would advise you to stay away from it. Okay. Beard, let's actually take a guideline. Beard, avoid it as much as possible. Avoid it. Okay. All right. Wow, lot of questions, man. This list. For Akat's question, since I have 2.5 years work ex, if we get stuck, can we say, sir, I'm unable to recollect? I would say, please don't. Okay. I would say, as much as possible, avoid this. Okay. Please do not go on this. Okay. If there is anything which kind of pushes you into a corner and tells you that you are not able to recollect, etc., you don't want to be doing that. Okay, you don't want to be getting into that kind of a discussion at all. Okay, so yeah, that's my answer to that. Okay, sure. So other questions, please keep putting them on chat. Let's now move one step forward. Next, you would obviously have that question in my mind. Okay, now how do I prepare, right? All this is fine, we got some guidance, but obviously there are so many more questions that we have. We will be putting that on comments, but the answers to them, how do we structure them better, and how do we use someone as a sounding board so that they can guide us on a more one-on-one basis, right? That's exactly what you should want if you want to prepare properly, right? It's not enough to just get some second-hand information and be good. You would want to use someone as a sounding board so that they can criticize your answers and tell them, hey, why don't you adjust it this way? That's exactly what we do here at PrepZone. Okay, we have been doing this for quite some time now. Okay, and these are just some stats. Okay, this don't like, I'm not even going to say anything. If you feel impressed by this conversion rate, that's totally fine. Okay, but that's what we try to achieve. Okay, when we get into this, we don't have our motivation stuck on money. Okay, because we are already from a decent cadre, and money, while is a great aspect to have in life, that's not why we do this. Okay, our aim is to actually use our expertise to help students out, because we have been in that state. We wanted this kind of help and we couldn't get it. Okay, that's the gap we are trying to address. All right, so some other things that you might want to see, again, something. Okay, we have been doing this for a while, and we know how effective we are when we put our minds into it. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, let me show you, some list of people that we have as our mentors. Look at the, alumni network that is kind of pitching in here. Okay, and I'm not even going to go into the amount of time and effort these guys have to pitch in from their busy lifestyles. Okay, all of these have their own jobs. Okay, apart from that, we pitch in so that we can guide students. This is one of the biggest forums, biggest communities of top B school alums that you will find across the internet, who are pitching in to help you guys out. Okay, so please take advantage of this. That's all I'm going to tell you. Okay, please take advantage of this, because this is kind of those opportunities which you shouldn't pass by. Okay. All right. Some of the things that you can expect to be, helped with would be something like this. What kind of approach should you take? And then some of the commonly asked topics, because I only covered the personals and, case-based questions, but obviously those are not the only topics which will be asked. You will be asked more specific questions like, questions related to the history of India, maybe the latest, happenings in crypto world, burning, affairs right now, etc., etc. So the list of topics is endless, and current affairs specifically is one topic where the debates can go into any direction. But when you're going for an interview for CAT, you are expected to have some opinion on it, and to build that opinion, you need to know about that topic, right? So we handle all those kinds of prep. We kind of research ourselves and then give you that information so that you can go through it in a summarized manner rather than going through each and every topic article yourself. Okay. That way you learn faster. Okay. And you have us to discuss things also in case you have questions. So that also works in your favor. Okay. Then we have question banks on all the typical questions that have been asked in the past for IIM interviews, right? And then we have personalized mentorship. This is one aspect which you rarely get from any other places where you try to prepare for GDPI rounds of CAT, right? This personalized mentorship is the icing on the cake that you get along with us. Imagine, an IIM alum ready for you to, answer questions, right? At any point of time. What kind of advantage it brings to your life? Ask yourself that. Okay. So if you want to reach out to us, it's very simple. Okay. You can go to this particular link. In fact, just search for myprepzone.com. Okay. On Google, you would be able to see us very easily. Just go there or take this number down. Just ping us. Okay. Just call us or send us a message on WhatsApp. Okay. We will be available for you 24/7. At any point of time you have a query, we are there to answer that for you. All right. So with that said, thank you for joining in this live session. I had a lot of fun interacting with you guys. I hope that you all also, got to hear some of the common questions which, typically students have when they try to appear for interviews. And if you were not able to get them yet, be rest assured that you will get them, very soon. Okay. So with that said, let me take vida from you guys. Let me bid adieu. And once again, if you have questions, please put them in comment section. We'll come back with another live session very soon. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.